It was supposed to be another cheerful morning on live television. Laughter, coffee mugs, familiar faces, and fans gathered outside before sunrise. But on this particular day, the energy went from joyful to chaotic. And years later, beloved TV personality Kathie Gifford finally opened up about the surprising moment she and her co-host were told they couldn't stay outside anymore. Not fired, not suspended, but yes, escorted away from one of the most iconic morning television spots in America, Rockefeller Plaza. Morning television thrives on authenticity. That's why audiences loved the chemistry between Kathie Lee and Hoda Kotb. They weren't just reading a script, they were laughing like friends at a kitchen table. When the two appeared on Today, viewers felt like they were part of the conversation. And the outdoor plaza segment, that was the heart of it all. Fans gathered in coats and scarves, they held signs, they waved to the camera, hoping relatives across the country would spot them on TV. The hosts loved it too, but that morning, something different happened. It began with harmless fun. The crowd was bigger than usual, the energy was louder than usual, and Kathie Lee and Hoda were in one of those unstoppable moods where every joke lands harder than expected. They teased each other, they laughed mid-sentence, they forgot to keep their broadcast voices. Instead, they talked like two friends who forgot they were mic'd. The audience fed off that energy. Soon, the cheering got louder, then louder. Producers inside the studio began glancing at audio levels. Control room technicians adjusted microphones, but the laughter kept rising. Live television runs on tight timing. Segments must start and end exactly on cue. But this moment wasn't following the clock. The crowd was shouting back to the hosts. The hosts were answering them directly. The conversation was drifting away from the planned program. It felt spontaneous, and viewers loved spontaneity. But production teams fear unpredictability, because once sound bleeds into other segments, the broadcast becomes messy. And that's exactly what happened. Audio from the plaza began interfering with studio broadcasts. Inside, anchors tried to continue reading serious news stories. Outside, laughter echoed across microphones. At first, subtle signals were sent. A stage manager gestured quietly. Then a producer approached. The hosts thought it was part of the bit, so they joked about it. The crowd laughed again. But moments later, a clearer instruction came. They needed to move the segment inside, immediately. Not because anyone was angry, not because anyone was in trouble, but because the show simply couldn't function with the sound levels anymore. Kathie Lee later recalled the moment as almost surreal, realizing their fun had accidentally overpowered live television itself. There was no dramatic confrontation, no raised voices, just a quick professional request. Yet the audience noticed. Fans saw staff stepping in. They saw the hosts transitioning indoors earlier than planned. And rumors started. Had something gone wrong? Were the hosts being disciplined? In reality, production logistics had simply collided with genuine joy. Once inside, the show continued normally. Segments aired, guests appeared, coffee mugs returned to the table, but backstage, everyone was laughing, not upset, not worried, because the truth was simple. They weren't removed for doing something bad, they were removed for having too much fun. And in live television, even happiness needs boundaries. Years later, Kathie Lee shared the story with humor, not embarrassment, because the incident perfectly captured why audiences loved that era of morning TV. It wasn't polished perfection, it was real connection. The hosts weren't acting like celebrities above the crowd, they were part of it. And for a brief moment, the line between broadcast and audience disappeared completely. Television often looks effortless, but behind every minute, producers manage sound levels, directors control timing, staff coordinate camera cues, technicians balance microphones. A single unexpected surge of energy can disrupt an entire national broadcast. That morning proved something fascinating. Authenticity attracts viewers, but structure keeps the show alive. Without planning, chaos wins. Without spontaneity, magic disappears. Great TV lives somewhere in between. Kathie Lee and Hoda's partnership became memorable not because everything went smoothly, but because sometimes it didn't. They laughed through mistakes, they reacted naturally, they treated the audience like friends instead of spectators. And this story became one of those behind-the-scenes gems fans adore, a reminder that live television is truly live. Looking back, the moment wasn't scandalous. It wasn't controversy. It was a perfect example of human connection overpowering technical limits. A crowd having fun, hosts enjoying the moment, producers trying to keep order. Nobody was wrong. Everyone was just doing their job, including the audience. So when viewers heard the phrase, "they kicked us out," it sounded dramatic, but the reality was almost charming. They weren't rejected, they were simply louder than television could handle that morning, and somehow that made the moment unforgettable. If you enjoy stories from behind the cameras, the real moments that never make headlines, subscribe because the best television memories aren't always the scripted ones. They're the unscripted seconds when reality accidentally takes over the show, and sometimes those are the moments we remember forever.